This is our reality, Calabash TV.
That leads us to climate change. How much work do you do with the environment, and do you have an eye out for things related to climate change?
Definitely. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues that we have today, we face today. One of the most pressing challenges that we face today. And it's a pressing challenge, and it's ironic as well, because we as humans are the most intelligent on the planet. Yet still, we are the ones who are greatest responsible for its destruction. So I go out, I walk VG Beach a couple of days a week, and I'm always appalled at the garbage that's on the beach. I'm appalled after the rains at looking at what comes down. And I started out, I think early this year, posting a picture to my Instagram about some of that garbage that's on the beach. And I decided that it's something I'm going to continue during 2018. And I'm going to post those pictures with a call to action for us to pay more attention. When we go out with a plastic bag in your pocket or in your bag or whatever, and take your trash away with you. If you go out to the beach, enjoy the beach, but go with a garbage bag. Take your trash away with you. And the reason really is this same trash that gets out onto the beach, gets into the ocean, is swallowed by a fish. And then we get back out and we eat the same fish, and we wonder 60 years from now why we're suffering with cancer or whatever new illness is going to come as a consequence.
So actually I had a question for you, whether your work makes you an environmentalist because you see you're up close and personal with areas that some of us may not see because you go right across the country. Does that make you closer to a true environmentalist, or as just a concerned photographer you have those concerns and you drive that cause?
I think as an environmentalist, more than just because I'm a photographer. And as an environmentalist, again, when I look at my whole background, going through school, it's been sciences, it's seeing the impact that actions take, and also it is seeing what was then and what is now. I can recall being at St. Mary's and us going out and having a field trip with my bio class on the Pigeon Island Causeway. And we were really looking at biodiversity, etc. And then looking at the causeway today and seeing the challenges that are. Yeah.
Have you done underwater photography? You mentioned you've done aerials and so on. Have you gone underwater as well?
I have to confess that I swim like a rock. So no.
Because I wanted to find out about your own experiences with the underwater world, which has changed, we understand, but you haven't had experience at all, and you're not yearning for it?
At one point in time I did, when I had more time available to get out and learn to swim and then do the diving, etc. I actually started out and then got caught up with some other things and never completed. Mm-hmm. So I think at this point in time, my leaning is not in that direction.
As we said earlier on, I know you started with weddings and you did quite a few weddings when you started at the time. Talk to us about the relationship, because I've looked at some of your photos online and I noticed you do have an ongoing relationship, not just for the assignment, but I see you post some updates. So you've been giving somebody some hurricane updates on what's been happening. Talk to us about that relationship with the people who are getting married, that they've trusted you to document the memoirs, the history.
It's a beautiful relationship. I think that the internet has been the great game changer. In the past, someone who was traveling, all you had to rely on, for instance, was a magazine. Today, now more than ever, someone can reach out to you online. You can pick up the phone, you can call them, you can do Skype, you can do whatever. And so a lot of the relationships are built like that. I say to clients quite often that it doesn't matter to me about being the first that you reach out to. What I really want to happen is that either I'm the last that you reach out to, or you find someone who you are happy with, because there are different photographers who appeal to different persons. So the relationship today is absolutely beautiful. In developing it, getting to understand what people are about, what's their life story, what drives their passions, and then getting out and producing photography that tells that story.
We know since you started and in the wedding business, the environment was different, the climate, the landscape was different as well. Things are changing, but St Lucia is still being promoted as a honeymoon destination, as a wedding destination, and so on. For yourself and photographers, I know you probably have to readjust your business model because we know what's been happening at the hotels and so on. Talk to us about the change that you've seen, and what do you do? What do you advise photographers now, considering what it is now? Because I know you've taken up some of those causes with your different associations and so on, but what is the possible way forward on this?
I think that a realigning of objectives is required. Today, hotels block photographers. But is that the best for St. Lucia? Is a bride getting the best possible experience? So in essence, what is happening is that St. Lucia is denying a bride her best possible experience. And I'm saying St. Lucia and not the hotels, because ultimately it boils down to St. Lucia. What's the way forward? I'm not sure. I think in part that there needs to be a meeting of the minds and to determine how best can we make this work. We all want the same thing. I mean, I and other photographers want a slice of the pie, and it's quite irksome when I consider that I go out, I promote my business, and the same thing goes for all the other photographers out there. They promote their businesses. A bride reaches out and says, I want you for whatever reason. We spend tremendous amounts of money. I mean, I'm considering some new equipment right now, and it's in excess of 20,000 US, right? And I'm committed to making those investments so that I can offer the best that's possible. And then the door is slammed in my face. Ooh.
Does that call for some policy realignment? Because obviously everything has to come down to a policy in terms of access, in terms of opportunities, and depriving people of opportunities, because we say tourism is here to build our economy, and if we can't capitalize on it. So in terms of policies, have there been efforts to have a policy change in that area? Or is this something that we ought to pay some serious attention to right now?
I have made efforts. I haven't gotten very far. And I think that it's going to be difficult to get further, and not just in photography, in a series of endeavors and professions. It's going to be difficult to move ahead unless the practitioners realize that there is more available than any single one of us can handle. So if I think of photography, photographers locally may have a feeling that other photographers are their competition. I don't view it that way. I have absolutely no competition because I am Kirk Elliott. I have striven to create a brand. But even going beyond that, there are more people in the world who could come to St. Lucia, in this instance, for photography, than there are photographers to service them. So until as a fraternity, photographers recognize this and come together and put systems in place and say, this is how we would like to proceed, I think that policy change could be a challenge. Because do we, as a unit, know what we want? The answer is no.
So that means there's some need, I don't know how organized the Photographers Association is, but there's need for some organization, some advocacy on their part to be able to at least start a discussion on policy change.
I think even more than that. I think that there's need for assistance because in a lot of instances, we don't know what we don't know. What's the best way to make it happen? What has worked in other parts of the world? What have been some of the challenges? What have been some of the successes? So, and it's difficult for us, and I'm just thinking photography specifically, to get on top of that on our own. And sadly, the system doesn't support us coming to that place. And I say sadly because then there are all the repercussions.
Well, I think the Chamber of Commerce at the last AGM did make the point, and they did appeal to government to start looking out for St. Lucian businesses who are investing, like you, in their chosen profession and their chosen business, and getting competition unnecessarily from other people who are coming in. So I think the Chamber of Commerce has recognized that that is an issue, and probably the Photographers Association can, adopt that. And you're right, probably look at the best case scenario, best case model, and see what can work for us.
This is happening. This is our reality. This is Calabash TV.